name is Bernadette Hardy, but everybody calls me B. I have lived in Fairfield, as it's known now, for 46 years. Before that though, my family have lived connected to Gabbargal, Dharug country since the first sunrise.
My name's Leanne Tobin and I'm a descendant of Yarramundi, who was a Karaji, a clever man who actually was involved in the discussions with Governor Phillip when he came out to the Hawkesbury. My ancestry is connected with the Hawkesbury River, the Burburong people belonging to the Kangaroo, and also Wamali, which is a prospect Blacktown area. Yarramundi's daughter, Maria Locke, or Bolongaya was her traditional name. She was put into the Native Institute. She was the very first enrolment at the Parramatta Native Institute that Macquarie set up. So Yarramundi again was involved as one of the elders talking with Macquarie. And that was at a time of great turmoil and, 2/3 of the population wiped out with smallpox and, skirmishes and takeover of land and all that sort of thing was happening. And I think he was very much involved in trying to, create a way to survive in a new world.
Following on from what Aunt has just shared there, so I come from a beautiful woman by the name of Kitty, who isn't probably written about a lot, little bits and pieces, but I think the beautiful thing is that that story sits between us because Kitty and Maria were number 1 and 2 on the enrolment list, and it's through things like this that we get to share and sit together, and that's quite special because I think when people bring us back on the river and it's like Kitty and Maria are sitting together, right? Still. Still like
talking through time.
I think it's really important to honour at the moment that by you wanting to care for the river, you've brought back 2 custodians who love each other, whose ancestors loved each other, who were probably terrified, taken off the river, put into the Native Institution, forced to learn Western ways. Maybe I am channeling Kitty a little bit in the sense that I like to move in my own space and time. I get really uncomfortable when I'm pushed to do something really fast. We've been through first the smallpox, then massacres, then stolen generation, then hidden generation, and then the failed referendum. To still be here is quite extraordinary, and the responsibility that comes with that is a wonderful thing.
I just realised that a lot of people just have no idea. I ask people just simple things like, do you know who actually is the traditional people from where you're living? Do you know what happened down the road? Do you know that you're actually near a massacre site? Do you know any of those? No, you don't? Oh, see, that's where we're at. We're a long way from getting past it.
I think my connection to this lifetime is I was born here, and Fairfield's not known for water. Like if you talk to your friends or even teaching students and they say I'm from Cabramatta or Fairfield, I'm like, well, you're from one of the most wateriest places in Sydney. And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, let's have a look at the map and let's look at the waterways and all the creeks and the interconnected creeks and creeklets that all trace their way up to the Dirrabin or the Hawkesbury. And the earth is so clever here because all those chain of ponds and water feed that very western part of Sydney now, One of the most beautiful memories I have, there are so many, but I remember going to school and the teacher took us down to the creek, Orphansville Creek, and caught the frogs, the tadpoles, and we watched the progress of the tadpoles turn into frogs, and then the frogs get put back. And then by going back there recently, even though I'm there all the time, actually going back to that junction of where we used to be able to access the creek, you can't access it anymore. It's kind of overgrown and boarded up. Water is such a big but very personal story for all of us, but my first water body is my mother's womb, and there's only one water in the world, there's not 2 waters, so I feel like water is something that we all share. I understand very, very, very firsthand that if you don't have water, you don't have life. And how we treat water and how we, how we talk about changing the water courses so violently without permission, and we talk about consent and those sorts of things. Very rarely do we ask for permission when we turn on the tap, or very rarely when we put the kettle on do we think, where does our water come from? We always had a relationship with where our water was coming from, because within our areas we had to care for fresh water and salt water. So the extractiveness of things going through pipes now and going to different places, and you know, say your mother or someone you really love is going through surgery and they're having to do a bypass, that understanding of that bypass of wateriness through your body changing into another direction so that you can survive is the same thing for Mother Earth. So when you look at the way that the water's being shifted and changed without its own consent, and how water can hold a lot of memories, but if you're changing and shifting and doing all these things with it, there's going to be an impact. Having consent and a relationship with the source of water and where it's coming from really teaches you about how to love and have a relationship with water. And that pain that you get through your body when you're changing, or you're worried about your mother on the operating table because she's having a triple bypass or whatever it might be, it's the same worry that we have for country when people are changing and shifting it without its consent, without its love, because I think, you know, they're the arteries of Mother Earth, and everything has an impact and a response to when you're changing it. But look at this.
No,
Like,
let's not look at it.
If you knew, you know, like we're surrounded by rubbish. It's thriving despite being disconnected.
Is it thriving?
But it shouldn't have to live like
It's
that.
filthy dirty.
It's not good enough.
Like, it's a classic example where you
Amongst
see
the
these
bulrush.
animals when they're in the urban environments and they're dirty. It just hurts me.
It's the same thing as the operating table, you know. It's your mother, it's your caring. So water's a big...
It's actually distressing me as we've been cruising along, seeing these beautiful birds trying to operate amongst all the shit. And it's not their fault, it's everyone else around here having no connection whatsoever with this place, other than I live here, you know, that's all.
And your tap turns the water
They have
on
no
and you get it.
concept of what's outside their window and how they're responsible for that too.
It's
Anyway.
that kind of perpetual extraction of, like, I need water to survive, but now that it comes through the pipes and I can turn it on and have access to it, that's the relationship with water.
Yeah.
But knowing where your water source comes from.
It's a bit of a white fella way, isn't it? You put shoes on your feet so you're removed from the earth, and then you put tar on the road so you're even further removed. Then you build high-rise buildings where you're even further, more and more removed. Now we're in a digital age where you become impersonalised and no personal connection, even with the wars that are going on. Total disconnection now, just press a button and you're not even face-to-face with that enemy. Like, it's just so distant from where we are really supposed to be. And we're all made of stardust, we're made of the planet, we're made of the substance that's here.
And we're grown in water. We are a body of water.
No, it's so
we
weird,
are
isn't it?
grown in a body of
The
water.
disrespect. Oh man. Yeah.
I think that's, you know, and even to access data centres, which are the largest growing architectural development, requires so much water to operate. Where's that water coming from? And mapping the water that gets into that building, and what relationships have we
No
got
regard
with
for
water.
consequence. This is the thing, there's no that direct consequence, you know. When I go into schools, I'll talk to kids about, you know, where does water come from? You know, I'll get it from the tap. And then I say, no, once upon a time you'd go down and drink it from the creek, you know, the creek down the, you know, instant repulsion, you know. And I think, see, that's just such a sad indication of where we're at, you know. We've got a long way to go.
There's nothing more important than knowing where your water comes from. That's just basic foundation. You know, when you come here and you become a citizen, understanding your relationship with water is, you know, we're known for our harbours, we're known for our waters, we're known, like, there's nothing more important than for you to know what water you're bathing in your body. Like, we spend a lot of time on Instagram looking at eyebrows. They're really important. Understanding your relationship with water is fundamental.
I remember the realisation coming back to country and looking at all the bridges and all the concrete drains and thinking, wow, once upon a time they were creeks and they were rivers, you know, that ran through those places. Now they're just, you know, culverts and bridges that we drive over on the freeway. But yet they would have been water sources and living spaces for our people once upon a time. So